Good morning, fellow traders, and welcome to today's live Technical Tuesday session. Today is October 15th, 2019, and what we're going to do is take some time to look at two of our favorite currency pairs, which are the Euro USD and the Fiber. We're going to take a little bit of time just to observe what's taking place on those particular pairs. But all right, guys, and one thing I want to ask before we begin, if you guys have any questions, just please let us know. I know there's a chat area on your particular platform right now, your viewing area. You should be able to submit your questions if you have any. But with that said, we can move forward and we can start analyzing this chart right now on the Euro USD. Now, as you guys already know, price was trapped within this descending channel on the daily. It was making lower lows and lower highs, but recently, as of Friday, we had a break outside of this channel. This bullish candlestick right here on the daily represents a break and a close above this channel. So then when price did that, then it led us to believe that we could see the buyers come in to help push price higher. But that's what we was looking at, and we knew that for starters, that right when price hit this level right here, we should be waiting for an opportunity to buy on a pullback. If you look at this move to the upside, as a matter of fact, if you draw this in, we can see, if you draw in this price leg from this low to this area where price started to consolidate for a few days, and you drag this line and you take it to this swing low right here, you can see that this move is an equal measured move. It's a one-to-one measured move, which demonstrates that the markets move harmonically and symmetrically. I think we talked about this last week. What was done before may be done again. The market often moves in repeatable patterns. It leaves footprints for you to follow. So then right when we saw this, we knew that price was going to be in the midst of a correction, and we should look for an opportunity to buy on a pullback in price. Now, if I remove this line, what we can see here, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that, for starters, we're approaching this $1.10 level right here, which is known as an institutional level, institutional or psychological level or zone of support in this case. But if you look at these candles right here, we have all these wicks to the upside. Wicks, 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 wicks. And what this tells us is that this area right here is an area that could function as an area of demand. So then what we want to do is draw in a box to identify this particular zone. This will be a zone of structure on the 1 hour chart. So then let me just draw this in right now. So this is a zone of structure. So then right now, anywhere within this particular zone right here, price could find the buyers, and then we can get a nice push to the upside. So then we need to wait for that correction to complete. But I do believe that when price enters this area, or when it tests this $1.10 institutional level, we may see the buyers come in, and we may have an opportunity to go long or enter a buy. Now, one thing I want to point out is that if we do see price correct lower and push past inside this daily descending channel, then that can mean that, hey, we could still be in a bearish trend. The market could still be bearish, and we may want to look for opportunities to sell. We could see price continue sliding lower to test these lows down here if we do get a break below this descending channel resistance. So in other words, if price decides to break lower and break below this descending channel resistance and break below this zone of structure, then there's a likelihood, or there's a possibility, that we could still see the sellers in control, and you may want to look for an opportunity to sell on a pullback. But with that said, let us drop down to a smaller time frame just to see what is happening. So then I'm just going to drop down to the 4 hour. Okay, so then right now we're looking at the 4-hour chart. We can see that price had this consolidation and it broke to the upside. Price corrected, expanded higher, and now we're in the midst of this correction right now. So then there's a possibility for price to push into this region. I think we may see that, or there's a possibility for price to even do something like this. If we do see price reject this area, then price could form something like this, where it comes, test this right here, and then comes down and it moves lower. Now, if price does that, then what is that called? For those that are familiar with classical chart patterns and price action, if we do get something like that to happen on the 4-hour chart of the Euro USD, then what is that called? What particular classical pattern do you see? It's a reversal pattern. Okay, yeah, Daryl chimed in. He said a head and shoulders pattern, and that's exactly what you would see. And one thing I want to point out for those that may be new, it's important for you guys to get an understanding of what these classical patterns are. There's a few out there that you really need to know about, one of them being the head and shoulders pattern. But if you want more details on these particular patterns and certain secrets that we use to identify these patterns, then I highly recommend that you join our private community. Even though you can do that, you can still learn about these patterns for free online. You can go to any free website and just learn about these classical chart patterns. But with that said, let's move on. So then this could potentially take place. What we see here, if price does respect this area of support at $1.10, we could see something like this where price pushes up, tests this area right here of structure, right here to the left, and then you can see price fall lower from there, creating a head and shoulders pattern where, this is the shoulder, this is what you call the left shoulder, this is what you would call the head, and this new move is what you would call the neck. So then price could do something like that. So we need to bear in mind all the possible trading scenarios that could take place on this particular chart. So if we do see bullish confirmation right around this zone right here, then a good idea may be to target these highs up here. To have a shorter target and not shoot for extended targets. Because really, to be honest with you, we don't really know if a true reversal is taking place yet. Remember what we said last week. If you go back to the daily chart, let's do that now. If you go back to the daily chart, in order to fully conclude that the bulls are taking over, we would need for price to break this zone up here. Let me just draw this in. We would need for price to break this zone. As long as price is inside this zone or below this zone, then there's still an opportunity for this trend to slide lower, on on the daily. We could see this move lower on the daily. But so then we could still see price slide lower. And if price slides lower, then what's another zone we have to pay attention to? Well, we have to pay attention to this zone right here. Because if price slides lower, then, we can get something like this, possibly. Price tests its lows, and then price pops up. And if that does happen, then we all know what that's called. That's pretty much the opposite of what we talked about on the 4-hour chart. It's what you would call an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Some people call it SHS, I believe, a shoulder head shoulder pattern. I believe that's what it's called. But we need to pay attention to how price responds to these zones. But as of me right now, I'm still looking to buy. I'm in buyer's mode right now. I'm looking to buy this pair on bullish confirmation. And this is what I think could potentially take place. I think we could get a deeper correction into this zone right here. And it's mainly due to how this correction took place. What we see here is a potential, let me change the color here, but we had this move to the downside right here, and price corrected higher, tested the highs, and if you clone this line right here, we could have what you could call an ABC correction, and we may see price correct a little bit deeper into this zone right here. It's a possibility. Or we could just see that correction begin right now. I mean, we don't know. But if that is going to take place, then we need to look for the buyers to come in on bullish confirmation. So then here's what I'm going to do, guys. This is what I do. And I know I mentioned this before. I'm going to look for an opportunity to buy in this zone. It could be happening now. It can happen over the next few hours. But we need to look for an opportunity to buy soon. If you're into indicators, we have this slow stochastics right here. You can see that it's near oversold territories. So then there's a likelihood that we could see price bounce from this zone of demand or support right around here. So then we want to definitely look for an opportunity to buy. Now let me remove this right here. And if I do look for an opportunity to buy, I'm not going to shoot for extended targets. I'm just going to target this area right here because I believe that, you know, this is a key area that we need to isolate and identify as well. So then, and you could tell because, of course, we have this structure high, but you see all of these small body candles right here. It seemed like price was in just consolidation in this whole area. If you drop down to a smaller time frame, I'm pretty sure you would see it. But it was pretty much trapped in consolidation, didn't really move much. So then there's a likelihood that if we do get a bounce from this zone, we could see price move up to this area of support or structure right around here. So then that's what I'm looking at right now for the Euro USD. Something like that to take place, and it may give us an opportunity to trade lower if we see bearish confirmation up into this zone. All right, so I hope you guys get it. I hope you guys understand what we're looking at or what we're looking for the Euro USD. We're mainly looking for a buying opportunity now upon bullish confirmation, so that price will have to show clues or signs that is moving higher once price tests this particular zone right here. Now, if you guys don't know of any confirmation entry reasons or entry signals, just let us know, or not even let us know, just consider joining our private community for $1. I know we go over a few confirmation entry signals that would that would trigger or that would allow you to know when to pull the trigger on a trade, or when you have confirmation that the market should be moving higher or it should be moving lower. We look at certain signals or triggers to sort of give us a clue on when we should look to buy or sell. So then, if you guys don't use any confirmation entry signals or reasons, for starters, try to come up with some or try to learn about them online. I know a lot of people use price action candles, and that's okay. But you need a little bit more than that just to know what's actually happening. Just because you see a bullish engulfing candle doesn't mean anything. So then, and oftentimes that can reduce your reward to risk ratio, which means you're not really making much money on that trade anyways. So then there's other things that we look at in order to confirm if we're seeing a switch in momentum. But of course, we only reserve that information for our private community members. But with that said, this is the Fiber or Euro USD. I think we don't have any questions on this particular pair. So what we could do right now is move forward and talk about our next currency pair, which is the US dollar Japanese yen. So then what we want to do next is go to the US dollar Japanese yen, and let me go to the daily first, and then jump right to the US dollar Japanese yen. All right, so then right now we're looking at the US dollar Japanese yen, and we're currently looking at the daily time frame. And as you guys can see on this particular chart, I don't know if you guys are familiar with classical chart setups, but we do see a classical chart setup form on this particular pair. It's large and it's huge. We do see something similar to what we saw on the Euro USD, but it's much larger and it's on a larger scale. But there's a possibility for us to see this pair continue pushing higher because of what we see. Now, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to chime in and maybe jot down what you think you see, but we do see another classical chart pattern on the US dollar and Japanese yen that could give us a clue on what could potentially be happening on this particular pair. However, we have to pay attention to a number of things first. We can't conclude anything yet until we get a clear, concise confirmation that this bullish pattern has taken place in the market. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to chime in. But we're trading the US dollar, Japanese yen. As you guys know, there was some risk appetite for a few days, especially last week. We saw some strong moves with yen weakness, mainly due to some good news coming out of both the Brexit and trade war concerns. We saw this pair rally. And Daryl chimed in. He says a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern, and that's exactly. Oh yeah, Brian. Yeah, excuse me. Chimed in and he said a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern, and that's what we see. We see right here. We have the left shoulder, and then the head, and then the right shoulder right here, and then now price is moving higher to test this daily structure area of resistance, which makes the neckline. But also, even on this chart right here where the head is, you see this double bottom, right? You see this double bottom, turtle soup, price, pushed lower, retested these lows, and then pushed higher. And the very fact that you have a pattern within a pattern, you have this double bottom on the daily, and you have this potential inverted head and shoulders, leads us to believe that you really need to consider being bullish on this pair. There's more of a bias for the upside than the downside, especially on this larger time frame. So then what we want to do right now is, of course, identify and isolate the key zones that we need to mark on this chart. So then, it's pretty apparent that, we do see structure in this area. Remember, structure leaves clues. So then we'll definitely draw this in right here. We have this area of daily structure. We see these wicks right here, resistance right here, even support right here. Let me just drag this out a little bit longer. Okay, so then we do have this area of structure right here that we need to pay attention to on this chart. Let me drag this down a little bit lower. Okay, that's good enough. But we also have to pay attention to this right here, this area. It's pretty apparent that really for the past few weeks, price has been attempting to break above these highs, but it has not been able to. The sellers will come in and immediately push price lower. So then we need to also identify this zone as well, that this is a key zone that we have to pay attention to, because price is may respond to the zone like it has all the other times. Every single time you saw price hit this key zone of structure resistance, we saw price slide lower. It fell, boom. Comes up, tests this area again, fell, boom. Comes up, tests this area again, and there's a likelihood that we may see a fall as well. But one thing I want to teach you is a little secret on price action, because remember, guys, the market oftentimes leaves repeatable footprints. And on this move lower, let me just draw this in. We saw this move lower right here. Now, let me clone this line, because there's a likelihood that this move lower could be the same distance, and it pretty much is almost. It's almost the same distance. Therefore, if we get confirmation that the sellers could be coming in the same zone, then there's a possibility that we could see that same measured move to test these lows down here, right? So then what we want to definitely do is, of course, identify this area as an area of structure support. You look here, you see all these wicks at the bottom, wicks. look to the left, you can see that this is an area of structure. This is where that double bottom neckline is, and where this area of structure support is. So then what we want to do is definitely identify this particular zone in the area as an area of daily structure support. And if price falls into this area, then we need to be on the lookout. We need to be prepared to observe and see how price responds if we do get price to fall down to that level. But with that said, let's drop down to the next time frame. So then right now we're looking at the 4-hour time frame. Based on what we see in the 4-hour time frame, it looks like the market is in consolidation, or it looks like the market really wants to retest these highs up here, and or either push higher to break higher. Remember, on the daily we saw that potential inverted head and shoulders on the daily. It was pretty large, and we also seen that double bottom, which confirms that, you know, to some degree there is a long-term bias to the upside. So then price could just be gathering momentum just to push above these highs and break above these highs up here. But we saw that price fell lower, corrected a little bit, failed to retest 20 simple moving average, found some demand. You could tell that there's demand in this area, mainly due to how these candles are forming. If you zoom in to this area, we see that we have these long wicks to the downside, which means that there's buyers position here, and what they want to do, what the buyers want to do in this whole area is push price higher. We get that by the way these candles are forming. So then we see this right here on this candle, and we see it right here on this candle. Although this candle hasn't closed yet, it will close in about 30 minutes from now, but we do see that happening. And we see a bunch of indecision candles right here. These candles, these doji-like candles, shows that there's indecision in this area. And whenever there's indecision, then you need to wait for a particular break or some sort of significant move to take place. But all right, one thing we do know is that there's buyers position here. For some reason, they want to keep price contained. They don't want price to fall any lower. So let's go down to the 1 hour to see if we see something else. So then this is the 1 hour time frame. We see this consolidation a little bit better, but let me just draw this in. So, you know, for starters, we see this consolidation. We see this ascending trend line support, but we also see this descending trend line as well. Price is consolidating just like we saw all those indecision candles. Price is sort of in consolidation, or really it is in consolidation. And you know, there's a likelihood for us to see a break in either direction. Price can either break to the downside, and if it does, then we'll need to wait for price to break below this area of structure right here. Let me just draw this in, because we have this resistance area, and we have this support right here. Price will have to break through this zone in order to support a selling opportunity. So you know, we don't want to do anything yet until we see a clean break of this zone. Now, what will happen if we get a break above this triangle? Where this is where it gets sort of tricky, because if it gets a break above this above this symmetrical triangle pattern, if you see a break above this descending trend line resistance, then we may want to stay neutral, because one thing we know historically is that this zone is a zone of resistance, and we don't want to trade into resistance. You know, while this zone of resistance is still here, we want to be careful. So then this is what I'll do. If we do see something like this, then just wait for price to break to the upside, which may potentially happen. We may have to wait for a clean break above this zone. I know you will have to wait for a while, but in order for you to be safe and careful and know exactly what's taking place, you have to wait for price to break this high right here, and then wait for a correction and pull back in price. And then once you get that pullback in price, you can enter another buy and possibly target this next area of structure resistance up here. So then that's what I'm looking at, something like that on the US dollar Japanese yen. However, if we do get a break to the downside on this particular pair, price decides to break lower and break to the downside, then we would definitely, you know, especially if we get a break of this low right here. If we get a break of this low, a break below this low, let me just draw this in. Right here at 1.0803, which is near this psychological area of support at 108 or 108.00. That's an institutional level. If we do see price break this level to the downside, then what we can do next is wait for price to correct and retrace higher, and then look for a selling opportunity on bearish confirmation. So then right now, two scenarios could take place. We either get this buy right here, but we'll wait for price to clear this zone right here, because we know that historically price had a difficult time breaking through this zone. This zone acted as resistance other times in price history. So then we don't want to be foolish. We want to only trade when we're confident and when we know that the coast is clear, you could say. So then yeah, but that's pretty much it for the US dollar Japanese yen. You know, we'll be looking for those two breakout scenarios to take place. Either price is going to break down or it's going to break out to the upside. So we'll just wait and see what's happening, or what will happen for this particular pair. But are there any questions about anything that we mentioned on this particular webinar before we close out for today? I hope you guys got something out of today's session. I hope you guys at least learned something if you haven't. But remember, guys, trading is all about price action. The most difficult part of trading is really the psychological, the emotional, the mental side of trading. Once you master that, then trading can become pretty simple. All you have to do is exercise patience and discipline, and then you would do well in the market, especially once you understand how price typically moves. But what we shared in this webinar is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of information that we could disclose and reveal to you guys that we only share with our private community members. So then if you guys are interested in joining our private community, as we said before, it's only $1. You get to learn a lot for $1. Trust me. Even if you don't continue your monthly involvement, you learn a lot in that first month of training, because you will have access to it. It's better than most courses that you buy. So then if you guys want to give us a test, and if you guys want some of our trade ideas, we give you trade signals, trade ideas on a plethora of different currency pairs, then just let us know. Join our private community for $1. Test us out. And if you want to stay with us, then you can stay with us beyond the 14-day trial. But with that said, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining today's live Trading Technical Tuesday session. We really do appreciate you guys. And if you guys have any questions, you can always email us. Even if you have questions about our private community, we're here for you guys, and we want to answer any of your concerns. So then just let us know. But thanks, Daryl, for coming. Thanks, everyone, for coming, and those that participated. And we would definitely see you guys next Tuesday on next week's Technical Tuesday session. So, all right, guys. That's it, guys. And we'll see you soon. Have another blessed week of trading. And we will talk to you later. Also, guys, if I do see a setup forming on a Euro USD, I would definitely tell you. Yeah, I would definitely let you guys know if we do see that setup form. You know, I'm looking for bullish confirmation now. So I'll definitely let you guys know so you can enter that trade. But all right, guys, thanks a lot. And we will definitely talk to you guys soon. All right. Talk to you guys later. Okay. Bye.